We now return to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, now that I have my voice back. Episode 3, The Return of the Great Departed Soul. No.
The grand end-of-the-century Great Exhibition of London. Surely there is not a soul who has failed to hear of it. Wondrous new works of culture and industry from every corner of the globe had converged on Hyde Park, welcoming over 50 million visitors. The last great hurrah of this century. Astonished and delighted people of all nations, and ended on a note of resounding success. But as regards to the terrible catastrophe that occurred during the festivities, very few are aware my friend Mr. Herlock Sholmes had a hand in unraveling the matter. For from the shadows, it was he who earnestly unearthed the facts of the case. And like the centerpiece of the great exhibition, which rose high into the skies of Hyde Park, Sholmes's brilliant deductions, as clear and lofty as the Crystal Tower itself, brought the truth to light.
We're here at the showground of the Great Exhibition, which is absolutely packed with people. The weather is unusually fine, and we're about to witness a most extraordinary scientific experiment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 20th century will see steam engines and electrical power dominate the world. Horse-drawn carts will give way to the motor car. Ships will sprout wings and take to the skies. And today, we showcase even more advanced technology. A glimpse into the future. A world first. A demonstration of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine! A man will literally be disassembled by a pulse of high voltage electricity and beamed to another location. Whereupon his body will be reassembled by a series of complex calculations exactly as it was before. In but a few moments from now, this gentleman will, in the blink of an eye, complete an incredible journey through the air. To arrive an instant later on the Crystal Tower behind you! This one, yes! Whoa! Yes! Please, that's not what I wanted.
I'm already not excited for having to do his voice. Bruno, are you listening? Oh, sorry, what was that, Iris? What's the matter with you? You've been miles away all morning. Didn't you like what I cooked for breakfast? No, that's not it at all. What were we talking about again? Today's paper. It's full of news about the Great Exhibition again. Ah, yes, the Great Exhibition. I'd like to go sometime. You're really not your usual self today. You seem very down. Don't you agree, Hurley? Did you say something, Iris? Oh gosh, you are even more down. When did you arrive, Mr. Naruhodo? I've been here for about half an hour already. We had breakfast together. What? Why didn't you mention it before? I thought you might have known I was here. Because breakfast... Iris is quite right. You're clearly lacking in vim. So much so I didn't notice your presence. Thanks. Of course, I could deduce the reason perfectly well with some simple observations. What? Let's see. Yes. For example, your tousled hair this morning with all its unruly spikes. Clearly it can be deduced, therefore, that... let me stop you there, Mr. Sholmes, because I think I can see where this is going. My hair always looks like this. It always has. Ever since we first met, in fact. Oh, really? How interesting. It just doesn't look like a haircut as such, I suppose. Thanks again. It crossed my mind recently that it's been 6 months now. 6 months? Since I was forbidden from working in court. So I've been wondering how much longer I'm going to be banned. Oh, well, that would explain why you seem rather glum. Don't you agree, Hurley? Did you say something, Iris? Back to moping. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes today? He seems even more down in the dumps than me. I know, the great exhibition has opened. You'd think he'd be excited. Oh, why don't we all go see it together? I want to, of course I do, but I can't, not for the time being. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because I'm a great detective, after all. So you're embroiled in some tricky case you can't be distracted from, is that it? I don't remember hearing that you're working on a case, Hurley. I suppose I should try to find out what's going on. If we must. Half a year ago now, I took on the defense of a young girl in a trial heard at the Old Bailey. It's entirely possible how long this series has been going that the actual mission that we played was half a year ago by now. What at first seemed like a simple case of murder that took place at a London pawnbrokery turned out to be one part of a much more far-reaching plot that involved the British government. During the course of the trial, it was found that I made an unavoidable yet at the same time unforgivable mistake.
Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, this is not accurate. Yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord. In the end, I had my right to represent people in court revoked. I was told I had to spend my time in research and study. So that's what I've been doing. You have, haven't you, Runo? Reading all those big fat tomes about British law up in your room, and the notes about Sholmes's old cases. Brewing Iris's special blends of tea, fetching my daily bread for me. You've become something of a manservant around here. Start on the silverware next, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, I'm thinking of going to ask the powers that be to reconsider, specifically Lord Strongheart at the British Supreme Court on Whitehall. Lord Strongheart? Ah, the delightful Lord Chief Justice. Not my favorite fellow. He's not mine either, but he's the man I have to talk to. He's the only one who could grant permission for me to start working in the courts again. I came to Britain to become the best lawyer I could. I can't do that just sitting around here. The whole of London's been swept up in this great exhibition, hasn't it? The most advanced science, the most modern technology, finest work of art, and the feats of engineering. For the next 6 months, our capital will be showcasing these things, and the world will be watching. Oh, do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to look down on London from one of those lovely balloons. Look down on? Do you mean those things fly? Yes, of course. They fly high in the sky and don't even need wings to do it. All you need is hot air. But how? How does hot air have anything to do with flying? It makes no sense. I can't understand it at all. That's true of a lot of new scientific discoveries. Most people can't understand them at first. But in 100 years' time, all these things will just be common knowledge. I suppose they might be. Mind you, some of the science being demonstrated seems very questionable. Something went wrong on the open experimentation stage yesterday, apparently. There was a huge explosion. Still, I wish I had seen it, though. I'd love to see how bad some of these scam experiments really are, says the innocent 10-year-old girl. See here, every page of this paper carries some article or other about the Great Exhibition. But the brighter things shine, the darker the shadows that are cast behind them. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darkness, to the impenetrable. That is my proper atmosphere. Great Exhibition newspaper's been entered in the court record. Shadows cast behind? Is that a metaphorical way of referring to the back page of the paper? I don't know, let's look. No. Every article on the front page is news about the Great Exhibition. Public experiments to demonstrate brand new scientific ideas, cultural exhibits from around the globe. It's also positive and hopeful about the coming century. We must all go see it properly before too long. Sure. 10 pages a penny. So many glowing reports about the Great Exhibition and everything that's going on here. Other than this rather gloomy looking one, that is. Wait, what? What's the matter, Runo? The Reaper attacked. That's Lord Van Zeeks. This must be what Mr. Sholmes was talking about. Does he know any more, I wonder? Oh, good. Sure, we'll skip the one. It says in the paper that Lord Van Zeeks was attacked. That's terrible. You know the legend of the Reaper of the Bailey, of course, don't you? Only too well, in fact. Yes, Prosecutor Beric Van Zeeks. They say that if the Reaper is the prosecutor in a case, there's no salvation for whoever's in the dock. Even if the defendant is found not guilty. Once the Reaper has someone in his sights, one way or another, that person's time left on this earth will be short. London's finest rogues always find ways around the law. They'll stop at nothing to secure an acquittal at trial. Falsifying evidence, paying sham witnesses, threatening jurors, bribing judges. But even such devious tactics as these cannot save them from the hands of the Reaper. As you've experienced yourself, haven't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, I've seen the Reaper's retribution at work. Many of these criminal rogues are reckless and quite unafraid to die. If a leader among their fraternity is seen to have been taken by the Reaper, retaliation like this does occur. Really, the capital has a never-ending supply of such scoundrels. So, do you mean Lord Van Zeeks has been attacked like this before? This isn't the first time? He's quite an accomplished combatant, you know. He doesn't take these attacks lying down. Although, it seems that his assailants were armed with guns this time. Oh my goodness. Is he alright then? Is Lord Van Zeeks hurt? My dear fellow, how on earth would I know? Well, in the article it says, as to what of Lord Van Zeeks and his condition, all will be revealed in tomorrow morning's edition. Yay. I see. Well, we shall have to be patient then. No, I can't wait until tomorrow, why? In that case, you shall have to inquire with somebody in the know. But who? Lord Strongheart, perhaps. Good. Anyway, what's all the fuss? Are you investigating a particularly tricky case at the moment, Mr. Sholmes? You could say that, I suppose. Nothing more to add. That's not like you. What sort of case is it? Shush. Quiet, Mr. Naruhodo. Must not discuss it here. You never know who might be listening. You're acting very strangely, Hurley. What do you mean, Iris? Well, usually, the more mysterious and complicated a case is, the better Hurley's mood. Is it really a case that's bothering you? Iris, please, you mustn't exercise your astute powers of observation and deduction on me without invitation. Remember what I always say. Put yourself in the shoes of the individual about whom you're making deductions. You say that, do you? You, Mr. Sholmes. Never mind. Once I have had a cup of tea, I must make my way at once to the crime scene. That was a deep sigh. Well, I must be leaving now. Yes, understood. See you later, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, you really are a shameless liar sometimes, my dear fellow. What? You seek to put me off my guard and follow me, don't you? Well, you would be wasting your time. The thought hadn't crossed my mind, but now I'm wondering where you're going. Well then, see you later indeed. Listen to him. He's still laughing on his way out the door. What the shit is that? Alright then, Ryuno, let's get going. Oh, Iris, what are you wearing? I've got change to go to the Great Exhibition. You're going to take me. What? But I was just about to go to the Supreme Court. Oh, well, that sounds fun too. You're going to take me there then. Take me there, then. Alright, fine. Just lower that weapon, would you? Of course, and after the Supreme Court, then we'll go to the Great Exhibition. Sure. A new location was added. Every time we come here, I forget how this guy sounds. It's been about 6 months now since I was last here, but some things never change, like the sense of foreboding I always seem to feel in this place. Doesn't seem to be bothering Iris at all, though. She's happily reading over there. Oh, I love this place. I always find so many interesting books here. Of course, I was forgetting that you've been here before. The time we came here 6 months ago. When Susato-san was given the news that she was to return to Japan. Not in the costume at the time, either. I understand you wish to speak with me. Oh, Lord Strongheart, I trust you've been keeping well? Let's see. Since you arrived and requested an audience, it's been 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds. I've kept you waiting a while. My apologies. Oh no, not at all. We've been waiting here for 4 hours? I like nothing more than standing around staring into space. Good to know. Good to know that doesn't appear to bother him at all. Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of London. He's the man who allowed me to start practicing as a defense lawyer when I arrived in Britain as a student. You need only savor the air for a moment in this grand office to understand his preeminent status. As you will be aware, the Great Exhibition of London is now underway at last. We are extremely busy as a result, policing the grounds, guarding the new technologies, dealing with petty crime. And furthermore, as of next month, we shall open the International Forensic Science Symposium. Oh, I've not heard about that. Investigating authorities from 40 countries around the globe will be taking part, including from your own land. Forensic science is the future. The world must embrace it. As we're the hosting nation, I have much to do. And it is my highest priority. If others must wait for my attention as a result, so be it. Well, it's nice to know where I stand. So, you wish to consult with me? Of course, I can very well imagine what this is about. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, my lord. I want to be allowed to start working as a defense lawyer again in court. That's what brought me here today. But actually, there's something else playing on my mind as it happens. Just take a deep breath and come out with it. I actually came here today to ask for your permission. Go on. 6 months ago, my right to work in court as a lawyer was revoked. I was told to spend my time studying. Obviously, I'm very sorry for what happened, but the thing is, it made me understand what it really means to defend somebody under the rules of a foreign justice system. And I desperately want to have another go. Please, permit me to enter the courtroom again. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? Here it comes. I'm sure you haven't forgotten your position here, have you? At best, you are a substitute for your compatriot. This was never your intended role. No, that's true. The Japanese government actually sent my best friend on this study tour, not me. It should have been Kazuma. He was so determined to bring change to our own justice system back home. It was his calling. If that tragic accident hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here in this office now. Mr. Asogi was my best friend, you see. That's why I can't leave it unfinished. I have to fulfill his calling for him. His calling, you say? Has it never occurred to you that perhaps you know nothing of his true calling? Sorry? The mission with which that young law student was charged, what do you suppose it really was? What do you mean? Mission? He's not making any sense. Never mind. I've read all the reports you've submitted over the past 6 months. It's clear to me that you regret your actions and have studiously obeyed your revised instructions. Do you mean... As of this moment, I reinstate your license to practice law here in Great Britain. This whole premise still seems very bizarre to me. Thank you so much. That's wonderful news, Bruno. In fact, I believe I have the perfect case to mark your comeback. A curious affair. You'll consider it, I hope? Of course. Please, tell me more. You described it as a curious affair? Yes, that's right. I believe it was reported in the press. Are you aware that there was a serious accident at the Great Exhibition yesterday? Oh, no, because I just read it and I've forgotten. That's why the game has to remind me every goddamn 5 minutes what just happened. Yes, I read about it. A professor from Germany tried to carry out a crazy experiment. Let me see, how was it described? Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, I think. Instantaneous kinesis, as in moving things with the click of a click of the fingers. That's right, it's just what my herbal blends need, a dash of devil-may-care. Whatever this serious accident was exactly, it's clearly captured Iris's imagination. It's an unfortunate business. A large explosion engulfed the public experimentation stage and a man lost his life. A certain Mr. Odie Asman, an investor and a well-known figure in society. A large explosion. A man died. The man responsible for the experiment was Professor Albert Harebrain. He was detained immediately after the incident and is due to appear in court tomorrow. On the charge of murder. What? Murder? If you intend to take on his defense, you should hurry to meet with him at the prison. There is very little time left for you to carry out any kind of investigation. Great exhibition, a scientific experiment gone wrong, and murder. I feel out of my depth before I've even started. Still. We should go to the prison straight away then, and try to meet with this German professor. Don't you think? Definitely. He didn't have a German accent in the cutscene. Oh yes, one more thing about the case. There's a connection with our mutual acquaintance, the Reaper. Oh, with Lord Van Zeeks. How? All sorts of conferences have been taking place around the world to coincide with the Great Exhibition, and next month, the largest and most important of them all will take place at last. Come on. The International Forensic Science Symposium. It does seem as though criminal investigation needs to embrace scientific methods, doesn't it? Exactly. London, the global epicenter of culture, science, and wealth, now has a population exceeding 6 million. Sadly, crime in the capital is growing at a similarly startling rate, so it's imperative that we use the latest scientific methods to investigate and resolve cases as efficiently as possible. Which is what's known as forensic science, isn't it? Exactly, the future of policing. Regrettably, however, Britain is currently dragging its feet when it comes to the adoption of forensic methods. Oh dear, that's alarming. Exactly, it's extremely alarming. If I were Her Majesty's Attorney General, you can be sure the numbers of crimes committed and resolved in London would be very different to the current figures. And I can cite 12 solid arguments and 223 individual reasons to support my claim. Sorry. By way of apology for keeping you waiting earlier, I shall detail everyone now. What? What? Oh, how fascinating. It all began 15 years ago. I was... Okay. And that more or less sums up my feelings on the matter, in the simplest of terms, of course. Essentially, to formally establish a forensic investigation division within Scotland Yard. That is my mission. Oh, right, yes. That's wonderful. Exactly. Wonderful is precisely what it will be. Iris isn't paying attention at all. She's got her nose in another book now. Oh, is it over? Did you learn anything useful? I actually drifted off for the most part. He's surprisingly ardent about forensic science. Okay, we're done? We're done. I guess we're moving to the prison. To meet with Mr. Hairbrain. The warden said cell 11. That's this one. Oh, there's someone curled up in a bowl in the back corner, look! What's his name again? Professor Albert Hairbrain, wasn't it? Excuse me, Professor Hairbrain. Who are you? I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. A lawyer? Give me time, game, Jesus! Was that something I said? A lawyer, you say? Would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis? Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't... Yesterday's demonstration. That demonstration was... a magnificent demonstration was. It was an out-and-out success, by anyone's calculations. But despite that, no one listens. No lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave, at high velocity. Okay. Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while, too. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday. Papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he? Wow. Yes, you could interpret this. You could interpret. I'd see, because I don't know whether I need to do like an over enthusiastic German doctor, or do we just keep going with what's been established by the game already? You could interpret your results the way that you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense, the experiment was a failure, but at the same time, it was a great success. You've lost me. I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Asman was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Asman in fact perished. Yes, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure. So what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Asman was an accident, correct? The bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I was responsible for a man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that I wish to be punished at once. But... murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident. Simply an accident. I see. Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said that situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder. How exactly? Well, if it really was an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody. On what grounds? Ah, yes, it's newly established here in Britain, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. That one passed me by. But if the case were treated as murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to pore over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial. I see now. So, in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday. Yes, or rather, no, the devil's in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion. Sounds the same to me. You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? How fascinating. Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using a sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea, you see? It's an amazing hypothesis. Gosh, that's unimaginably high-level science. Oh, but dare to imagine it. Dare to dream of such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and the next I could be at the Great Exhibition again. Well, yes, that would be incredible. And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at a great Parisian theatre, say. The possibilities are endless. The whole of our vast planet would be within reach. Some of them were hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days. I don't really see it like that. What do you mean, Iris? Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I think it would feel as though it had shrunk. My word, that's exactly right. What are the implications? What does this mean? Oops, I've got Professor Bunnybrain really worried by the look of it. Clearly this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works. But without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. It's always the fly in the ointment. Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money. Money that young scientists like you don't have. That's exactly it, yes. Halley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science. Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Asman. The victim who died in yesterday's terrible accident, you mean? The full name of the man who died in yesterday's accident was Mr. Odium Asman, wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man? He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. See? Like, what the hell? And he's even got a German name tag. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thank my lucky stars. I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then. Money for scientific research. I'm so envious. As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel. Oh, really? An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Asman provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced a machine to my precise specifications. But then your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Asman. I would never, ever have thought of taking the man's life. Well, he seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. I don't know, like, do we give him the paper? No, that's not presentable. Alright. Well, now what? If you let your concentration slip, you'll miss what people say. What should I make for breakfast? Okay, there's something here. Something here that we're not... Oh, now I can present it. What the shit? How could this have happened? You must feel awful. As well as a man losing his life, the Crystal Tower was greatly damaged too. I know what happened. It must have been that. That. Day before the demonstration, I had my usual meal of frankfurters at the hotel restaurant. When I paid the bill, they gave me 3 shillings, too much in change. But instead of saying anything, I just slipped the coins into my pocket. They're still there now. It's divine retribution for my wrongdoing, that's what this is. For a scientist, he has some very illogical anecdotes. Long and illogical. Okay, well... Fuck, I don't know. You'd think we would be going to the what's-it now. I guess not. What to do? I'm so excited about the prospect of Naruhodo's Anything consultancy opening for business again. That's not what it's called. It's Naruhodo's legal consultancy. I've done a lot of studying in these past 6 months, reading law texts and judicial precedents. I'm sure I'm a better lawyer now. Can't wait to start practicing again. Nothing's changed in here at all, though, has it? It's as though time has stood still in here since Susie went back to Japan. I wanted to keep it ready for Miss Susato in case she was able to return to Britain at any point. So I've just left everything the way it was. Oh, I see, right. And there was me thinking it's because the way you are, Bruno. Wow. You know, never bothering to tidy up, I mean. Eris, this isn't the time or the place to bring up my tidiness. Or lack of it. It still didn't tell me what to fucking do. Okay. I'm pretty... Do I do this again? Only I'm the man who died yesterday. There's supposed to be a fourth option here. I have no goddamn clue how to unlock it. Ah, fascinating, yes. In Japan, where I come from, it's the symbol of a defense lawyer. Wearing it is very bracing, I find. Your words make some sense to me, but they are entirely illogical. What do you mean? Well, for example, I find this white laboratory coat that I wear to be for my work very bracing too, and I'm just completely, I don't even know what he's talking now. I should just do like Van Zeek's and give him every accent. However, in my case, there's a perfectly logical reason for that feeling. Oh really? What is it? I purchased the wrong size by mistake. This one is too small for me. The sleeves especially are extremely bracing. I can barely move my wrists. That's what you call logical, is it? Of course, it's entirely logical. That's science, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay, that still didn't freaking help. Alright, I'm gonna have to look this one up. I guess we go back. Oh, that reminds me, have you seen this? The reports of the overwhelming success of the Great Exhibition, of course. No, not that. The story on the back page. What story? The Reaper attacked. Ah, that. You've enjoyed some victories in court against my #1 prosecutor, have you not? Poor Mr. Reaper. What happened to him? He wasn't killed, was he? There's no need for concern. Lord Van Zeeks would not be so easily dispatched, I assure you. Can you tell us what happened? I'd really love to know. Very well. If it interests you. It does, strangely. Fortunately, Lord Van Zeeks emerged from the attack unscathed. Street ruffians are no match for that man. He's a very capable fighter. But that's incredible. They were armed with guns. Why was he attacked, though? Do we know? It's related to events that occurred a month ago. A leader of one of the capital's criminal organizations was indicted and prosecuted by Van Zeeks. The man was acquitted. I've no doubt large sums of money were involved behind the scenes. Large sums of money. Deplorable situation. Members of the jury were bribed, it seems. However, despite winning his freedom, the man in question met a dramatic end yesterday. But you're not suggesting that was the work of the Reaper, surely? The victim's henchmen certainly seem to think so. It was a man by the name of Asman, Mr. Odie Asman. Did you say Asman? That's the man who died in the big explosion at the Great Exhibition. Yes, known publicly as an investor, but in reality the head of a significant criminal organization. Unbelievable. I wonder, could I ask you something, Lord Strongheart? You're already trying. Go ahead. Why do you use Lord Van Zeeks as a prosecutor? All the criminals who manage to get off in court then meet with mysterious ends outside the courtroom. And fearful of that fate, they seek to strike at Lord Van Zeeks first. I know there's no evidence that he actually is the Reaper in that sense, but still, something's clearly going on here. Van Ziek's work for the prosecution service for 2 reasons. Firstly, the man is the best prosecutor in the capital, bar none. And secondly, any deaths of criminals that have occurred outside the courtroom following his trials have nothing to do with him. That doesn't make sense. How can you explain the way so many have died if not by someone's hand? Van Zieks may have earned himself the moniker of the Reaper, but he is no killer. So he will continue to prosecute on behalf of the Crown. Unless he wishes otherwise, of course. Okay, did that give me the clue? Well, I must be leaving for my next engagement. I'm already 11 hours and 16 minutes late. My colleagues may be starting to fidget. 11 hours late? That's quite something. That meeting had already started when I arrived back here for this engagement with you. So lateness was inevitable. Time stops for no man. I'm sure it stopped for me during those 12 solid arguments and 223 reasons. Oh yes, where would I find Lord Van Zieks now? I would assume he's at his office. Right, I'll go ask him about the attack in person. I want to get this straight from the horse's mouth. Away with you now. I'm leaving Professor Hairbrain's defense entirely in your hands. Of course, yes, thank you very much, my lord. Okay. There we go. You haven't been to this place yet. Try it. Oh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office? Yes, it appears so. It sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere. Oh, is that... That hooded figure was so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here? He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh. That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. What did that say? Skeleton captures bamboozled burglar? He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming that is such a fabled friend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Fiend. Fabled fiend. Not friend. You never know. Last night's attack. Lord Strongheart said the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack? True. Carried out by henchmen of Odi Asman's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably some hoped to kill me before that happened. Odi Asman. He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhand means, via his criminal activities. And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper. But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was a most unusual case of death. I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Asman died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you? Oh, no, that does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death at least. Of this particular death at least. It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Runo? I mean, what with you taking on the Professor's defense for the trial tomorrow? What? You're going to be defending him? Oh, yes, that's right, though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert. Albert Hairbrain. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together. You're... what? You're contemporary. I'd understood that Professor Hairbrain was from Germany, though. What, you don't think I am by my accent? Hairbrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research, that's all. So you were students together? I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he in Science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him. Only if I make out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know. Because the prosecution is me. By you? What a surprise! Why would anyone think that this was going to happen? You made it sound as if you and the professor had been friends. We are friends, it's true. Then why would you do this? If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed. I think we're forgetting that What's-His-Face managed to make it away. What's Lord Banzique's thinking? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean... I'm a crown prosecutor and immortal like any other. I'm no demigod. But they've all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. Whether or not... I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong voice. Whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal. Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society, people who, without question, deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. Yeah, but that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all. Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hard-working now. I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn, but the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work. Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way. But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true. The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Now, it would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful for their lives. Do you mean to say... I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly, and with honor. But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed. If that is my fate, let God decide. Murder and eggs. Okay, now what? Lord Banzique, about the article in this paper. Ah, yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd be photographed. It was careless of me. It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you had run away, though. Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same person, or the same man, who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I already mentioned, he's my apprentice. Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him. He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. And so you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. Really. Oh, like you are to Hurley, then, Bruno? I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective. He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack. Looks like he's wearing some kind of mask? On Lord Strongheart's orders. Nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. Shar. But why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be a good reason for for his actions. I hope you're right. That's a very creepy looking eye he's got there. The task is complete? Good. In that case, you will collate all the briefs. You can collate all the briefs, sure. Nice to meet you. Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet somehow it didn't feel like our first encounter. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? Oh, no, I mean... Sorry, I didn't mean to... The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. It couldn't be. Ah, yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh, what's that? That Nipponese man. Is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago. With the stoop, and the mustache, and the jitters. Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find out you identified him from that list, Ryuno. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice, and for the conversation. Can't believe he's asking after Saseki-san. After a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that, or worried. I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books. A mad scientist? You mean Professor Yes. It might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zieks, I think. Well, there you go. We'll just go ahead and move back to the prison. Move back to the prison. And there should now be a new option. Yeah, good. Okay. We'll end this one here. I'll see you next time.